Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Sip and Tip, and we are here with Richard. Again, Richard is a homeopathic practitioner, and he is giving us as much information as we need. We're so grateful for that because so many of us, I don't think there's any person on this planet who's 100%. Asina some kind of a problem,
some kind of an illness,
illness.
That's very true.
Even if it's like a slight mental something.
Yes, that's very true.
So this information is important for everyone, and sometimes I think people have so many responsibilities, and especially men, they are trying to stay afloat. They are trying to keep things moving, to take care of their family, to take care of this, to keep making money. So people literally don't even have time to pay attention to their health in the world we're living in today. Do you think so?
Very true. Even in terms of our environment, in terms of our social life, that is issues to do with the stress. Sometimes we concentrate on financial issues, then we tend to forget take care of our physical body and our mental aspects.
And sometimes as well, knowledge. We don't know that there is help available for this thing that I'm suffering from.
Very true. We always say knowledge is power. So it's actually more important to know what's going on in your physical body, in your social life, and the like.
Okay. So today we want to focus, on this episode rather, we want to focus on cancer, prostate cancer. Sometimes I struggle to say this word.
Prostate cancer.
Prostate,
yes.
Sometimes I say prostrate. It's
prostate, yeah,
prostate.
That's
prostate cancer. So we know, according to research, and anybody who's in the medical field is aware that prostate cancer is the one that is the most common cancer amongst Black males, right?
Well,
or is that wrong?
From my understanding, Black people or Africans people are the most people with the strongest immune system on this world.
That's true.
And also, Africans, compared to any other races or any other countries, they have a healthiest diet compared to the Western diet.
That's
so
true.
We have a healthiest
we
diet.
Eat more organic food.
More organic, plant-based diet as compared to the Western. Then in terms of our genes, Africans are true human beings. So sometimes I tend...
Did you say true human beings?
Yes, true human beings.
Are they false human beings?
We don't have genes of Neanderthals. We are true human beings. So
who has genes of Neanderthals? Okay, basically what you're saying, you're opposing the scientific information or education that has been created by certain races about Black people.
Yes, it's like Black peoples are true human beings. So when it comes to the issue of diseases such as cancer, issues such as HIV, and issues such as coronavirus, and this latest one, the monkeypox, it's said to be more common in Africa.
They always say that. You know why?
Well, but if it's an issue of poor health facilities in African countries, yes, that's very true. If it's an issue of foods with GMOs in African countries, perhaps that are donated from overseas, yes, that's very true. So that might be causing
Do you think
issues
some of that food is actually laced with drugs to purposely cause some sicknesses amongst Africans?
No, I don't believe so. But what I know is that some of these foods they have GMOs.
Okay. Genetically modified organisms.
Yes. So when it comes to the issue of prostate cancer, more common in African men than any other races, I tend to disagree with the statistics or with the researchers, unless there is a basis whereby they say there's more cancer in blacks because of poor health facilities. Yes, that's very true, but not because of our genes, not because of our diet or our lifestyle.
Yeah. So it's very easy to eat up what the West, because they're the ones who are providing the Googles and the whatnots with. So it's the information they put out there, is the information that they want to put out there.
Yes.
So it's easy for us to think that that is the truth, because we don't have such knowledge.
We don't have that knowledge.
Yeah.
Our researches are limited because of funds.
Exactly.
So they do their own research and they publish whatever they feel is good for the world.
Wow. So prostate cancer is something, as we said, it is still a problem. The statistics, as you said, they may not necessarily be true that it's common amongst black people, or it's the worst or whatever, but it is something that a lot of people do suffer from, basically, in Zimbabwe.
Yes, we can attribute the issue of prostate cancer to so many things. Prostate is a gland that is situated just below the bladder, and it's responsible for reproduction in men. And also, sometimes the issue of prostate cancer can be mistaken with what is known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, which is just prostate enlargement. So there are issues like we are exposed to toxins like the one that we find in vegetables such as pesticides. There's dioxin, there's arsenic in pesticides, which is a carcinogen. It can cause cancer. And also there's an issue of food. Certain foods may also cause cancer, especially the preserved meats. As men, we really love meat, and it's not a secret. So certain foods may also cause cancer, especially the issue of prostate cancer. And
what about sadza?
Well,
because they say that sadza, which is from maize, is actually from Mexico, and it's not necessarily a Zimbabwean plant. Sadza redu chairo is sadza remapfunde.
Well, you are very correct. What we call sadza these days is not the real sadza. This sadza from maize was meant as livestock, for feeding the livestock.
Wow.
Because there's too much starch, there's too much carbohydrates in this white sadza from the maize. Our true sadza is from small grains such as zviyo, mapfunde, and munga, because it's loaded with vitamins such as vitamin B, there's quercetin. So what we call sadza these days isn't the true sadza, and you find most people, they end up with conditions such as diabetes because of this sadza. You take sadza in the afternoon, in the evening, so you take too much carbohydrates, you end up with issues such as insulin resistance, hypertension, and types of diabetes.
And what I found is that I've lost my train of thought. I had a question to ask, but I lost it. So maize, right? Like you said, there's so much starch, so much carbohydrate in there, which translates to sugar, right?
Yes.
And isn't sugar something that is a main cause, or a main cause for cancer?
Well, that's another cause for cancer. It's like it's a chain of things. When you take too much carbohydrates, be it from sadza, from bread, from commercial beverages, you end up with what is known as insulin resistance. Then you end up again with what is known as metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is just a cluster of diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure.
Cluster?
Yes.
Just because of starch and carbohydrates?
Yes, because our body doesn't need carbohydrates. It's contrary to what we were taught at school, that we need carbohydrates for energy. Our body doesn't need carbohydrates.
We don't need it at all.
We don't need. We get our energy from proteins and good fats.
Wow.
So you end up with a metabolic syndrome whereby you have type 2 diabetes, you have high blood pressure, you have lipid abnormalities, and you become obese, you become overweight. And you also have the issue of belly fat, especially the visceral fat. So being obese is actually a risk factor for cancer.
Yeah, that is quite, I think for me, what I found most interesting is that what you said about us not actually needing carbohydrates. Saka zvinhu zvakaita say rice, pasta, sadza, all of that, if we were to completely eliminate that from our diet, we would actually still get what we need from other foods.
So if you completely eliminate starch, especially from refined rice, from white sadza, your body still gets energy from proteins and good fats.
It gets enough energy.
Yes.
Okay. So that's something to think about. So what about, most of the time people talk about kind of, if you're a manual laborer, you're a builder, construction worker, or what, those are the people that really need to eat sadza manji. If you're working in that field and you are working with your muscles all day, you are saying that it is sufficient for such a person to live on a diet of a plant-based diet and meat?
Well, what's more important is to know the number of calories that your body requires per day, depending on the nature of the job that you do. If you have a desk job, surely you really need very few calories. But
Exactly.
if you are a builder, you need more calories. So let's say per day you are a builder, your body requires about 2,000 calories. Then you take 4,000 calories. It means the other 2,000 calories are going to be converted into fat. Then you end up with issues. But there's no harm if your body requires 1,000 calories, then you also take something like 900 calories or even 1,000 calories. So at the end, you won't have issues such as belly fat, obese, and having risk such as exposed to type 2 diabetes and hypertension.
So as we said, we were talking mostly about prostate cancer. So what are, obviously there's a diet involved in prostate cancer. Would you say it's also hereditary as well?
Yes, there's a genetic propensity when it comes to prostate issues, but mainly it's to do with your diet and lifestyle.
Lifestyle, diet and lifestyle. When you say lifestyle, what do you mean? Is promiscuity? Does that cause?
No, not necessarily. When we say lifestyle, it's the way you live. Are you living under very stressful conditions? Do you have that sedentary lifestyle whereby you spend most of your time seated? That's your lifestyle. Do you get enough sleep? So that's lifestyle.
Okay. So all of those things, how well you sleep, and if you sit down too much, it all affects your prostate.
Take for example, when you deprive your body of good quality sleep, it interferes with your hormones. Then it affects your prostate. Then you end up with a number of health conditions. So sleep is important. It's part of your health.
Okay, and then what about these things like high blood pressure, diabetes? Do they also tie into affecting somebody's prostate?
Well, things such as diabetes, such as high blood pressure, we cannot separate diabetes and high blood pressure because in most cases they come as a result of insulin resistance. And diabetes and high blood pressure is also an issue of what I said, metabolic syndrome. So having especially type 2 diabetes can also expose you to have issues of prostate.
So what are kind of, first of all, let's talk about the herbs, the food that a man should consume. Prostate is obviously something that only affects men.
Well, it affects men, the prostate. So when it comes to food, there are certain foods that you are supposed to avoid. That's the most important thing.
Avoiding
certain foods. Then there are foods that you are supposed to take that can actually benefit your prostate health. When it comes to foods to avoid, you have to avoid red meat because it triples the risk of prostate cancer and prostate enlargement. And also, you have to avoid too much consumption of alcohol because alcohol compromises your immune system. You also have to avoid commercial beverages because there's too much sugar in commercial beverages. You also have to avoid bad fats like the fried foods. You have to avoid. Then when it comes to lifestyle, you have to manage your stress levels. You need good quality sleep. And then, like I always say, what we eat can be the most powerful form of medicine. You can actually prevent prostate issues by taking the correct diet, especially when you take foods that are rich in lycopene. Lycopene is a compound or an antioxidant that we find in red fruits, like fruits with a red pigment, such as tomatoes. You find the lycopene. You find lycopene in watermelons. It can also benefit prostate issues, and also you have to embrace grapes. They are good for your prostate. And zinc, which is a mineral that we find in like pumpkin leaves. You find there's zinc. You can also find zinc in mushroom. It can also benefit the issue of prostate. So there are certain foods that can actually benefit the prostate health. Like I always say, prevention is the best cure. So good food can actually benefit your prostate.
Yeah. So that's a lot of information. And you know, when you were talking about the first thing that you said is meat. Meat is a major challenge to us Africans. Anyway. I'm thinking when you said meat, I thought of all of the men in my life. My fathers, my brothers,
Well,
you know, everyone.
When
I'm
we
like,
say
they all have such a problem with not eating red meat or not eating too much red meat. What do we do to help them to stop eating so much red meat?
So they can go for other types of meats such as fish. You can go for chicken. When it comes to red meat, it puts you at a risk of having prostate issues. In fact, it's 3 times more. The risk is 3 times more.
So it's the worst thing.
That's the worst thing.
The worst thing you can do is
have
eat lots
to
of red
avoid
meat.
what we call charred meat or the goch.
Oh,
Because
that's
when
what
you
it's
expose beef to very high temperatures, it produces a toxic chemical that can actually interfere with your prostate.
So how should it best be prepared?
The best way to prepare like
Red meat.
red meat perhaps is to use low heating methods when cooking, and also to take the organs such as liver, the ox liver or the ox kidney, but make sure you take in moderation.
Okay, so the livers and the kidneys, and that's better than the
It's
actual
much better
meat.
than the actual meat in terms of because red meat is too much acidic. So it's much better to take like the organ meats and the kidneys.
Okay, and then what about plants? And you mentioned watermelon is a good fruit, right? Tomatoes is also a good fruit to consume to help with that. Are there actual herbs that people can take or teas to avoid and to treat?
Yes, they can go for what is known as saw palmetto.
Okay.
It's very effective in terms of addressing prostate issues, or even stinging nettle. It's a tea. It's very effective. They can.
These teas that you're talking about, can someone just find it in the shop? There's one you mentioned, good, it can grow in a garden. Garden. Where do we go to get these herbs?
Like chamomile tea, let me give you an example. You'll find it everywhere,
yes.
Not in the shops as such, but even in your garden. If you you find it everywhere. And
after the show, we're gonna go into my garden, and I want to see if I have.
Yeah, I will show you lots of these. Then you can also even use the what is known as curcumin. Curcumin, you find it in turmeric. Yes, it's a very powerful antioxidant that can actually help to address prostate issues. So turmeric, you can add it in your rice, in relish, or even as tea.
Yeah, turmeric, I do use that.
Yes, it's very effective when it comes to prostate issues. So such herbs can be used to address or to prevent prostate issues. That's sting nettle, the saw palmetto, and the curcumin that you find in turmeric.
So that's pretty much all the herbs that help. Well,
there are so many, but the one that I mentioned, you can find them locally or you can find them in your gardens.
Okay. So we'll try and basically maybe compile a list of some of those things maybe in the next show, so that we can give you the best knowledge concerning what is actually available out there for you, because as we said, a lot of people are suffering from prostate cancer, and it's important that we give you the information that you need. So that's that concerning men. Now I would like to move on to women. So for this episode, thank you for watching, and I hope that if you are a man out there, try your very best anyway not to eat so much red meat, not to drink so much alcohol, because guess what, you are putting yourself at risk. And we all want to live long, most of us, or at least if your mental health is good.
Yes, because
we want to live long.
That's very true, because health is not just about the physical health. Mental health plays a role, especially when you want to live long.
So do take care of yourself. Please take heed to this, and do what you can to make sure that you are taking care of your health. It's your responsibility. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much, Richard.
My pleasure.
Take care.